Welcome to another episode of the Love Not Fear podcast. I'm David Hensel and I'm here with my co host, Eduard Brink. What is the topic of today, Eduard?
Aha. Yeah, it's a little trick. I didn't tell you prior to this one. I'd like to talk about worrying versus concerning. So,
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is my mother always said in German language is to worry is sich Sorgen machen, which kind of means to make worry. And she always said, you make this yourself, it doesn't really exist. And so this is always something that I love this attitude about her. You know, if you sit at home, let's say your kid goes out to party or to ski or whatever, it's like driving, and you sit at home and worry, this doesn't help anybody. You know, so versus like if something happens and you get a call, then you can go into action. But just sitting there and just like destroying your mood and sending out negative vibrations does not help. I think rather hurts
yeah,
you.
you've shared the famous. Yeah, it's almost like a poem about the wisdom to know what you can change. So we spoke about that before. But for me, it's like checking in. What is the worst that could happen? And by doing that, it put my fears into perspective. And if you have your fears in perspective, then you can prepare for possible outcomes and take action or prevent what you don't want to happen. But to go to the extreme and then work it back where you are on that scale, that's actually quite a useful exercise.
Yeah, because with most things, I think like there can be catastrophic things that you can imagine. But in most cases, for example, public speaking, what's the worst thing that happens? I go out there and people dislike it so much they throw a tomato at me, which will never happen in a million years. So yeah, once you actually realize that the worst case is actually not that bad, it becomes much easier. No, we talked about this before. We talked about the worry time before on this podcast, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So I guess like that's another thing. If you worry, like schedule time to worry
Mm-hmm.
and be effective at it, and like actually
Yeah.
come up with solutions versus just having this worry thing take away your mental capacity.
Yeah. And the other thing is to check in if it's true. And by repeating this question to yourself 1, 2, 3 times, and forcing yourself to yeah, to recalibrate on how bad is it? How is this? What is going to happen? It's a nice exercise as well. And you can ask yourself questions, and it feels weird in the beginning, but it actually frees yourself from getting in touch with the limiting belief story. So, is this true? And this is, I think, the very essence of love, not fear.
Yeah, very true. And I also think like I always expect the best outcomes because I think it's also way more likely that the best outcomes happen. I don't want to go too woo woo in the sense of law of attraction or what you create in your mind will become your reality.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
I guess I'll leave it at that.
I read something by Eckhart Tolle, and something that stuck to me is if you question if something is true, it's like taking the plug out of an inflatable toy. So this thing actually becomes less significant. That somehow, that image really resonated with me.
To some degree, I guess also if you question if it's true, if it's already happening, uh, I don't know. It's also in the woo woo realm, but for example, I have like some big deal that is lining up, and it's already a handshake, but it's so awesome that I'm like kind of doubting if it's true or not. But I think if you stay in this mindset, you may even actually hurt it to some degree versus like being excited about it and leaning into it.
Yeah. Another other thing that comes to mind is something a fact or an opinion? I'm just playing around with the topic. What are facts and what are opinions?
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
What is the distinguishment between objective truth and subjective interpretation?
Yeah, I mean that's always a very interesting thing to see. Like, how do people perceive reality? This was like once my mind was blown when I had an employee, and I told him, like, in an hour-long conversation, that if he doesn't change this behavior, that I'm going to fire him, without saying the words "I'll freaking fire you." And after this 1 hour, he was still in a good mood, and I was like, "Dude, just to recap this, if this doesn't change, I'll let you go."
Yeah.
And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "What if, like, sender and receiver did not match up?" Or the other thing with my aphantasia, that I do not have images in my mind, so I perceive the world very differently than other people do.
I think this you never spoke about this. We did quite a few right now, but this is the first time you mentioned it, and I think it's a very good moment to explore a little around it, because if people don't know you, this is quite significant, and this has shaped you into who you are.
Yeah, I mean, this, yeah, has shaped me, or like, this was always me.
Yeah.
I have this condition called aphantasia. I found out 3 years ago, but I have it my entire life. I do not have images in my head, so when I close my eyes and I think of an apple or my daughter's face, I see nothing. It's always black. And so I cannot recreate pictures, but I also cannot recreate sounds, tastes, smells, or emotions. So I cannot relive an emotion. I know kind of like how, like, from a scale of 0 to 10, how good or how bad this emotion felt, but I have very low res memory, because I cannot tie to emotions or pictures or sounds or tastes or smells. It's kind of like just like fact based, stored somewhere. And when you have aphantasia, you also have SDAM, which stands for severely deficient autobiographical memory. So yeah, I'm I'm weird.
But you wouldn't trade your weirdness for being normal, right?
I mean, it has been very, for example, like Eckhart Tolle, like being in the present, because people who live in the past often have like lots of like grudges or resentment or anger, and people who live in the future often have, like, suffer from anxiety or fear. But with my aphantasia, I'm always very present in the moment. It makes it much easier to be present or see things as they are. For example, the entrepreneurial roller coaster. I've been an entrepreneur almost my entire life. And actually, I never had a job, so all my working life, I've been an entrepreneur. The entrepreneurial roller coaster that I see in others, like the yay, fuck, yay, or it's, I don't have it. At Max, the my last business, we've been hacked, and this could have been the end of everything. And everybody was freaking out, and I stayed completely calm. It's like, okay, this sucks. What do we do? No, like, this sucks. Accept it. What can
Yeah.
we do to make this situation better? And this has been serving me really well.
So you think your aphantasia, is it keeping you steady? Is it like does it also polish off the peaks, or is it just the lows?
I think it also polishes off the peaks, because my brother is like very emotional, highly visual, and he goes like in this, super ecstatic, like, yeah, whoa, freaking out, and I'm kind of like not super duper
No.
freaked out, excited about things.
But it doesn't affect your empathy, right?
It affects the empathy in the sense of, I have deep logical empathy, but if you tell me something tough that you went through, I'd never go like, oh, poor you, and kind of like
Mm.
what normal other humans do. I would think like, okay, this sucks for him. What can we do to help him to improve the situation? I always go into like solution mode. I deeply care about people, but it s- sometimes was perceived that I'm like kind of like unempathetic, cold, because I don't show these normal behavior that people show. And now I'm faking it to make people not feel uncomfortable. You know,
You hacked it.
I hacked it.
I,
Yeah.
I had I went to the event once. There was a speaker. There was a lady who gradually turned blind after she was 19. It happened over a 3-year period. So she knows what it is to have eyesight, and still, the today she wouldn't go back to the normal situation. So she embraced what happened to her and the development of the extra senses so much that she wouldn't go back. And although she has lived to see it,
It's quite extraordinary.
It's quite a, yeah. It's a strong story, yeah, but yeah, I believed her. It was not for the purpose of the talk. She could talk about it so vividly and what it brought her. So it's very
Which
interesting.
senses were heightened? All like taste, smell, touch,
Taste, smell, and
hearing.
the ability to read a room from the energy and to know where objects
Wow.
are in front of her. And so some of the things I could really see how that works, and some were quite magical, if I, with the lack of a better word. But then always what happens in my mind is to see, okay, what, without giving up eyesight, what is it that we can that I can train or develop or should
Sharpen.
pay attention?
Mm.
And if to circle it right back to your aphantasia. By the way, everybody says aphasia. No, I say aphantasia. Very few people know about it. But although 2 in 100 have it, but
Yes,
might
two
not
two
know it.
percent of people have it. Yeah.
So if we go back to your condition, what is it that we could train? What is it that I could be more sensitive of because you don't have it or have it?
I mean, I think the benefit that I have, that I'm slightly desensitized. That, like, things don't bother me. It's like having a tough skin, I think. But in terms of training, what I'm working on training is my gut feeling, and I think this is like my quote unquote sixth sense, and I think that's like something for everybody, or like that's the main skill that I think is worth training.
Hmm.
Kind of like developing a better gut feeling and listening to it, listening to the hunches that you're having.
Okay. Well, we decided to keep these episodes short.
True. We're
We
already at 12
started out
minutes.
here and completely somewhere else, but that doesn't matter. There was us worrying about concerning. Well, doesn't matter. Uh, let's continue in the next one.
Yep. Do we have
Take
a
care.
call to action?
Oh yeah, that is true. What is it? Maybe go back to the inflatable toy. What are the toys that you're carrying around that you could take a look? A toy sounds like fun and light, but what is it is there something you could deflate by taking another look at it?
Yeah. Let's stick with
Oh,
that.
okay.
Awesome. See you in the next one.
Bye. Take care.